and welcome to VOP Business Show. I'm Kayla Abraham. Nigeria's oil earnings have increased by over 273.8 billion naira in September 2023, following the rise in crude oil production by operators in the sector. An analysis of the latest data obtained from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission indicated that Nigeria pumped 40.3 million barrels of crude oil last month. This was higher than the 36.6 million barrels of crude produced in August, which implied the oil output rose by 3.7 million barrels in September. The average cost of Brent crude in September was $93.72 per barrel. By pumping an additional 3.7 million barrels in September at an average cost of $93.72 per barrel, Nigeria's oil earnings rose by more than $354.42 million in the review month. Last week, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Hanneken Lopobiri, stated that Nigeria's oil production increased to about 1.7 million barrels per day, up from the 1.1 million barrels per day recorded in August this year. Lopobiri explained that the rise in crude oil and condensate production was because the government and the operators in the sector had been able to identify where the problem was coming from. The federal government's 2023 budget recorded a 1.255 trillion naira shortfall in its projected revenue generation between January and July this year. The 2024-2026 medium-term economic framework prepared by the government indicated that of the 11.045 trillion naira projected for the year, the actual collection was 5.187 trillion naira instead of the pro rata 6.442 trillion naira, therefore leaving a shortfall of 1.255 trillion naira. On the expenditure, the administration spent much less than its projected, as it spent only 8.6 trillion naira as at the end of July out of the 21.83 trillion naira budgeted for the year. Despite the current sluggish growth, the government projected a gross domestic product growth rate of 3.76% next year and expected to rise to 4.22 and 4.78 in 2025 and 2026 respectively. Inflation, which is currently at 26.72, had been projected at 17.16 this year. The MTEF projected a 21.40%, 20.30%, 18.60%, 2024, 2025, and 2026, respectively. The apparent high cost of borrowing internationally following the massive fall in the value of Naira may have forced the federal government to reverse its borrowing plan to fund the 9.05 trillion Naira deficit budget from the domestic financial market, as indicated in the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework 2024 to 2026 released. The federal government had relied heavily on Eurobond and the other sources, including bilateral and World Bank International Monetary Fund, for its deficit financing needs for several years now. Federal government's 2023 deficit amounting to 11.6 trillion naira is being funded with just 31.9% domestic borrowing, while the bulk of the deficit funding at 61.8% was raised from foreign borrowings. In the MTEF 2024 to 2026 released, the government indicated that over 66%, or about 6.0 trillion naira of the total deficits amounting to 9.05 trillion naira in 2024 will be raised from the domestic market. However, the implication of the 2023 deficit financing structure at the backdrop of the massive depreciation of the local currency was a far higher cost of borrowing in both 2023 and 2024. The 2024 budget is already top-heavy on loan servicing, while debt service to revenue ratio deteriorated further in 2023 into 2024. The federal government on Sunday announced that it attracted over $2 billion in investment in the renewable energy sector over the past decade. It announced this through the Rural Electrification Agency, adding that in advancing these achievements, it established partnership with the World Bank, African Development Bank, Global Alliance for People and Planet, Rocky Mountain Institute, and Japan International Cooperation Agency. Others include the Sustainable Energy for All, the United Kingdom Nigeria Infrastructure Advisory Facility, European Union, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, Global Environment Facility, United States Agency for International Development, among others. The Director for Promotion and Outreach, Mutari Ibrahim, who disclosed this in a statement issued in Abuja, stated that from 2020 to date, REA has provided power to over 7.5 million people, including 1.5 million households, in delivering 113 mini-grid projects, including 1.3 million standalone home systems. The federal government agency stated that in 2022, as part of the National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy Program, the REA secured an additional 4 billion naira in capital injection grants. It noted that the grants were to provide clean power standalone home systems to over 50,000 locations, including rural homes, micro-businesses, schools, and faith-based institutions. The federal government's debts to the Central Bank of Nigeria through the Ways and Means advances fell to 4.36 trillion naira after most of it was restructured in June. The figure was according to provincial data from the Apex Bank through its quarterly statistical bulletin for the second quarter of 2023. However, it was observed that this loan rose by 3.42 trillion naira in 5 months from 23.53 trillion naira in December 2022 to 26.95 trillion naira in May 2023. It was also reported that the federal government paid an interest of 912.32 billion naira in the first quarter of 2023 on the loans it got from the CBN. The amount was stated in the first quarter of 2023 budget implementation report by the Budget Office of the Federation. The amount spent paying interest on this loan was 161.47% higher than 348.90 billion naira spent in the same quarter of 2022. Recall that it was earlier reported that the federal government planned to spend 1.2 trillion naira on servicing the loans it got from the CBN through Ways and Means advances. This means that the government planned to spend about 300 billion naira quarterly. However, it has spent about 76.03% of its budget for the interest on the Ways and Means advances. The Secretary of State for International Cooperation and Angola Communities, Domingos Lopez, disclosed that Nigeria's exports to Angola hit $16.8 million between 2020 and 2022. Lopez stated this at the first interactive Angola-Nigeria Business Forum held in Abuja on Thursday. The secretary, who represented the Minister of External Relations, Tete Antonio, noted that the ties between both countries were marked by signing the first economic, technical, scientific, and cultural cooperation agreement in 1976, adding that the exchange between the duo has been remarkable in the diplomatic, defense and security, petroleum, education, culture, and transportation. Concerning the main products group, Angola exported crude oil weighing about 42% in Nigeria, optics and precision accounting for 20%, and mechanical machines and devices with their function accounting for 14% of the total volume of exports. He also noted that Angola counts on the support of Nigeria during its economic reform. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohamed Idris, stated that the administration of President Tinubu will continue to strengthen both mutual ties through a deliberate pursuit of productive bilateral relations. The Angola ambassador to Nigeria, Jose Zhao, mentioned that the forum will help strengthen the economic ties between Nigeria and Angola. Now, the exchange rates between the Naira and the US dollar, according to the data released on the FMDQ Security Exchange, the official Forex trading portal, show that Naira opened at 789.89 Naira per dollar on Friday and closed at 808.27 Naira per dollar that same day. However, the Naira is trading as high as 1,170 per dollar at the black market, even though the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) announced the unification of all segments of the foreign exchange market. And that's all on VOP Business Show and VOP TV. We would like you to subscribe and engage us on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV and on all the social media channels at VOP TV Live. I'm Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.